Welcome back to DETV.
All right, class. We have just finished the resume section of this class, and you've learned the rules on how to do a resume. You've created a resume, and now it's time to put a cover letter on the top. So I'm going to cover the cover letter section. In the cover letter, by the way, and you just click that link right there, and it'll bring up this cover letter. Remember, as you do the notes, anything in red should be in your engineering notebook. So what is a cover letter? It's a tool to help you introduce yourself to a person you're applying the job to, but more introduce yourself in a memorable way. It explains the purpose of the resume that's to follow. It highlights a few of your experiences. And of course, it always requests an opportunity to meet your potential employer. There's 13 kind of do's and don'ts. So we're going to go through them. Number one here, always include a cover letter when you're mailing your resume. If you're physically putting a resume in an envelope, you want a cover letter. There are other times to use a cover letter, but especially when you mail it. Number two here, find out the individual's name and their title when you make this letter. You can either make a phone call to the company and say who's in charge of reviewing all these resumes, or you can look on a website, but find out and make sure you spell their name properly and put a Mr. or Mrs. or Ms. in front of it. Number three, don't use form letters. Just don't. It looks bad. They've seen them all, and it looks like you didn't put the time in to write this personal letter to them. Number four, use proper business format from your letters, and we're going to look at that at the end here when I show you the example. Number five, make sure the letter is perfect. I'm telling you, a spelling error, punctuation, grammar. I see people not capitalize the letter I when you're talking about yourself, and it just looks really bad, and people won't get past that. So make sure. Have someone else proofread it before you mail it. Number six, create the letter on the computer. And the only reason I say that is some of you have good enough handwriting, but you really don't want to have a handwritten letter. You want this typed out. Plus, you get the added bonus of it being spell checked. Number seven, use a 1-inch margin on all sides. You don't want it to be too cramped. Number eight, in the opening paragraph, tell the reader why you're writing this, just the purpose of this letter. Number nine, unlike the resume where you never use first-person pronouns, here you use I statements and action verbs. You say me and my and so on. Number 10, you get to the point. Don't make this letter tedious and long, and you don't need a life story of how you were raised as an orphan or anything like that. This is just getting to the point and letting them read without having a lot to read. Number 11, just a few more left. Focus on the specific skills and interests that you are going to make that employer better. So just focus on those specific skills that they would want to know about. Number 12, don't mention salary. This is not a time to talk about how much you're worth, right? You can do that during an interview if they ask about it. This is just to get that interview. All right, number 13, the last one, this is important. At the end, thank the reader for reading, taking the time to read this, and also make some kind of statement that says you look forward to meeting them. Okay, so let's look at an example here. You see this example here. I'm going to identify each of the parts and kind of go over it, right? And so the first one is the header, and the header will have your address and the date. Okay. Then the address of the place you're mailing it, along with their name at the top. The salutation, you see here it says, "Dear Miss Bailey." And then if you remember back in the notes, the opening paragraph would tell you why you're writing this. Here it says, "This letter is in reference to the paralegal position that was listed through Central Maine Technical College Career Center. I am familiar with XYZ Law Office's recent growth, and I am confident." You notice it says I and I, unlike the resume where you weren't allowed to use first person pronouns. You're going to see I and me and my all through this whole thing. And I am confident that my skills and qualifications will benefit your company. The second or the first main paragraph is where you start to tell your skills and sell them. I, see, first person pronoun, am eager to utilize my research and writing skills while working as a paralegal. My academic courses at Central Maine Technical College have required many research papers and projects. I have tremendous capacity to undertake research and report findings in clear, concise fashion. So that first main paragraph talked about their experiences and skills, right? Second main paragraph, continue to describe your qualifications. I work well under the pressure of deadlines, and I have been involved in many group projects. My work experience have taught me that one must be prepared to work beyond typical the 40-hour work week to achieve success. I am willing to and able to do so for the XYZ law offices. So it shows that dedication there. It shows that you have a good understanding and also explains your skills again. Remember, the closing paragraph is, don't forget to thank the reader and request an interview, right? Your consideration of my credentials would be greatly appreciated. I will call you next week to confirm your receipt of this letter and enclosed resume. Please feel free to contact me if you require additional information to support my candidacy. Then complimentary close, sincerely. And then you put your signature there. That's the only time you use your handwriting, right? And then underneath you have your name typed out in case they can't read your signature. And then enclosures. You always will have at least one enclosure. And because you don't want to just send this letter alone, you have to send it with a resume. So make sure you put that the enclosed is a resume. Other things you might enclose in there might be some references or maybe your transcripts or grades. But at a minimum, you should have an enclosure that says enclosure 1, resume.